Yes, of course. Racism happens everywhere and Scotland is no exception. So I'm going to tell you some things that happened to my family and I. We lived in an area that my parents thought was safe. There was a park right in front. There was loads of families. It was like terraced apartments, so all of the flats were on one street. And with so many people, you're obviously going to get people that are not accepting and ultimately some racist people.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel, Yano Show KE. In case you are new here, just consider subscribing. And for those that have followed me and they are showing much, they are showing sharp to my channel, I just want to appreciate you. So, guys, I want to go to the story that we seen that a few days ago. We seen that now a Black American discovering a Black Scottish people. And the Black Scottish people have come out clearly to express the racism they are facing there in Scotland. Some are saying that while they are in school, they faced the racism, and some are saying that in their work and their places of work. So these Black Scottish TikTokers have come out clearly to narrate and to express what they are facing, the racism there in Scotland. So they have given their stories, and I just measured to them just to hear the views about the racism they are facing there in Scotland. So in case you are new here, just click the subscription button, subscribe, like, comment, and share. So that
Hello cousins, how are we? Oh, baby has got zoomies, so I thought we could have a little yap session while I do my skincare routine, because a lot of people have been asking for that. So I'm going to do my skincare routine while talking about the racism that does happen in Scotland. I usually just wash my face with an antibacterial soap and use salicylic acid as a cleanser. Literally it. The water is really good over here, so I think that's a contributing factor. With my experiences on being Black in Scotland, I have some videos that I've done about this previously. There is racism here. I'm so sorry to burst everyone's bubble. In my area that I grew up, I stay outside of Glasgow. There just wasn't a lot of Black people in my area. In primary school, I was the only Black girl in my class, but there were 2 other Black boys. A fun little story that I can actually think of is Black History Month over here is in October, and we were learning about Martin Luther King and the Montgomery bus boycott, and they were getting us to act as historical people at that time. So of course, one of the Black boys was Martin Luther King, and they looked at little Deborah. They said, "Oh, do you want to be Rosa Parks?" That's when I actually realized, oh, I am different. Next thing I go in with is hyaluronic acid. Now, moving over to high school, that's when things escalate. I would say a lot of our culture, like the rest of the world, is influenced by America. So yes, people over here do use the N-word. I've seen a few comments about asking that question, but yes. And white people are not afraid to use it. Yeah. One instance was a Christmas dance that my school held at Celtic Park, the 5th years and 6th years, so the last classes in high school. I don't know what you got. Anyways, Old Digger came on. From there and then, I just knew what was going to happen. I still have the video to this day on my camera roll. This happened in 2018. The N-word was thrown around there. I complained to the school about it, that they shouldn't be playing this type of music. Even one of my aunties came into the school to speak to them about the racism, and they did nothing! Again, this is the same school that rewarded a boy for dressing up as a Rastafarian man in blackface to a Halloween party. He won Best Dressed, I do have to add. Yeah. Sorry, I'm really bad at this. Next is niacinamide. At the height of the Black Lives Matter movement in 2020, I made a Twitter thread basically calling out my school for the racism that they let slide. And still to this day, they have not made a comment about it. But hey, I've moved on, clearly. Other things as well, teachers used to shout at me because I said that white people shouldn't wear braids. I was trying to tell the teachers that it was cultural appropriation, and her words verbatim was, what's cultural appropriation? Next, I'm just using 2 vitamin C products. Other instances as well, sitting on the bus, a guy would be calling me a black bastard. It's always lovely, you know. In the workplace as well, be ready to be the only Black person in a company sometimes. It's just the reality of things. And there will definitely be communication problems or people not understanding, little tones as well. Me changing my hair in the workplace always warrants a reaction. Please Calm down. To top it all off, I'm just gonna go in with some sunscreen. The sun has been shining over the past few days. It's so lovely and a change of pace. There are other stories that I'm sure other people can share. Just letting you all know, Scotland is very much racist. Also, if you want to go into our history, Scotland was connected to the slave trade as well. There's still streets in Glasgow named after points in the slave trade. Again, Google's free, look it up. There has been a few injustices as well that have happened here. I can talk about it another time. Video's already long. I don't want to bore everyone. Last thing we're going to use is vitamin E mist. I am going to enjoy my coffee, get along with my day. Later on, we do have a party, so follow along. I'll make a vlog getting ready, talking about the clubbing scene, music, all of that stuff. Catch you guys in a bit.
Mums in Scotland, mums in the UK. Guys, I have experienced racism, white on black, black on white. But I never thought I would experience black on black type of racism. I've experienced it today and I'm still shocked. It makes me sad actually. I was in TK Maxx doing whatever I'm doing, and on the till there was a beautiful young girl. I think she was around 18, 19. I greeted her like, hiya. She didn't greet back. I'm like, right. I continued, and whatever it is, everything she was doing, there was attitude from A to Z. And I was like I wanted to say something, but I'm like, I'm not gonna fight today. Not today. Because I was still in shock. What this video is about, let's do better, guys. Moms, let's teach our kids our culture. Let's teach our kids what we are about. Back home, if you see someone of the same color, you need to greet everyone. You must greet everyone, whosoever it is. Whether you see them in the streets, you say, oh, hiya, whatever. Because you are noticing them. You are respecting. It doesn't matter if you're from the same country or not. Black people, let's do better. I know that we are in this country. I know that there are some people, we are people, we cannot like each other. But let's respect humanity, guys. Let's do better. Guys, black moms, let's do better. White moms, teach your kids better as well. Because we are all one nation. Guys, come on.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you guys a story. After like nearly 2 years, I think I'm finally ready to tell the story. Okay, so I moved to Edinburgh, not knowing anyone apart from the person I ended up dating. And so I didn't have any friends. I was very lonely. Then I met this girl called, let's call her Dana. Met Dana, and wasn't my type of person particularly, but I'm quite open-minded and I get on with different kinds of people. So just kind of let time do its thing. And, eventually time did its thing. I got more comfortable with her, even though the energy wasn't like my, I love this person energy. It was just kind of like, it's okay, I guess. Becoming, I'm used to it. I'm used to this energy now. I was about to move back to London. And I was like, okay, Dana, I want to go out. I want to dance. I want to, enjoy my last few moments here before I go back to London. Dana was like, okay, cool. I got invited to this house party. It's a bit far away, outskirtsy of Edinburgh. Let's say, maybe the bus would be 40 minutes bus ride, right? 40 minutes bus ride to this outskirts area. I was like, I'd rather just go to a club nearby or a bar and let's just dance together. I don't know. But she was very insistent. She wanted to go to this outskirts, 40 minutes away party. I was like, okay, cool. So got ready, headed to the house party on the bus, had a couple of drinks. And then we arrived at this new build estate place. I was like, okay, it's even a bit quiet, but okay. How Dana knew the people there were two people from her running club, right? I clocked, as most people do when it's an all space. I was like, okay. Noticed, but, I grew up around a lot of people, so I'm kind of used to it. But I was like, noted, cool. The vibe of the party was giving office HR. That's all I'm gonna say. It felt like very middle-aged, which is not bad, but it just felt like a older crowd. Some of them were actually my age. I was very surprised. But anyway, I was like, cool. Like older also in the sense of like a lot of them were like married and like I think some had kids. But I was like, okay, cool. I'm 27 now. So I was 25, 26 then. So anyway, cool, sailed into this party. The night went on, had some interesting conversations, but nothing like crazy. Night went on, it was maybe like 12:30 a.m. at this point. So I'd been there for like maybe 4 hours, right? I'm sitting on the couch, I'm minding my goddamn business. I'm minding my goddamn business with a beer, cross-legged on the couch. And I had my afro wig, which no one knows is always like not my real hair. So I had my afro wig, cross-legged on the couch with my beer. Oh, let me keep this on for dramatic effect. And then this white guy comes and he says, can I sit here? I go, yeah, of course you can sit here. If you know me, I am very like open. My energy is usually very open, very warm, very bubbly, very inviting. He sits down and I go, what's your name? And then he goes, oh, let's not do names. I am really open to weirdness and like curious chat. Maybe he wants to go deeper. So I don't take that as a red flag. He's like, oh, names are so boring. Let's not do names. I was like, okay, let's not do names. I was like, okay, let's play a game then. If we're not going to do names straight away. Yeah, okay, cool. What game do you want to play? And I'm like, okay, let's play a game where you tell me your first impression of me and I'll tell you my first impression of you. We don't know each other. We've literally been talking for less than 10 seconds. And he goes, yeah, okay, cool. Okay, I'll say, okay, what's your first impression of me? Guys?
Now, I don't know if it's just me, but I do think there's quite a lot of descriptive words in the English language.
He said that his first impression of me wasn't happy, wasn't artistic, wasn't, boring. His first impression of me was that I am racially aggressive. Racially aggressive. What do you mean by that, sir? What does that even mean? Racially aggressive. That's your first impression. Racially aggressive. I go, okay. What do you mean by that? And then starts to go, no, like, you got it wrong. Like, I'm white, yeah? I'm like, okay. He goes, like, my skin doesn't glow. Me and my wife's skin doesn't glow like your skin. I am like, okay, let's just steer this conversation away. What I should have done was left. But I was like, okay, let's just steer this conversation away. By the way, guys, it does get worse. So I'm like, okay, let's steer this conversation. Oh, there's a rainbow. Wow. A little break from this horrific story. I ask him, okay, what's your name? And he tells me his name. He asks me my name. I tell him my name. And then I go, where are you from? And he says, oh, I'm from here, obviously. Like interesting fact, the teacher that taught me also taught my parents, so I know what you're thinking. I was like, what am I thinking? It's like backwards, right? And then this is where it gets worse in the most absurd way ever. What I'm about to tell you feels like I'm telling you that a clown slapped me with a wet fish. He literally says that and then looks at me, smiling, and then goes dead face and goes, your race is inferior to my race. Unprovoked. That's what he says to me. So then he just starts to splutter. Like, I was just joking. I stood up and said, you're not making a very good first impression. And I leave. And as I'm trying to find my friend, I'm bawling. I'm like crying, like trying to keep myself together. I don't know these random white people now. And obviously there's some sort of KKK subscription going around. So I'm bawling my eyes out. And then I find my friend, Dana, tell her what's going on. She was like, what's going on? And he comes into the kitchen where everyone is, including myself, crying, and goes, someone here's taking a joke really bad, someone here's taking a joke really bad. And I just go on my phone trying to find an Uber, like trying to ignore this. Everyone's kind of like confused, but just chatting on, being like joking and stuff. And then another fucking clown wet fish slap on the face was that when I told people, after the guy left, I told people what they said, like 3-4 people around me, like, oh no, that's terrible. One of the guys who I was earlier talking with, he like says, oh, T-Day, grabs my shoulder and said, as a racially superior person, I can tell you that you're not inferior. Long story short, the friend that brought me to this all-white KKK party, she goes, after he left, she goes, oh, do you want to leave? I'm like, I think I'm gonna go. I'm like crying, guys. I'm like, my eyes are red. Keep in mind, this is like 1 a.m. at this point. The party's done. So I'm like, I'm gonna go. And then she's like, okay. She doesn't offer to come with me. As I walk out the house, she goes, okay, bye. And then closes the door behind me. As everything's just happened. And I'm out in the cold by myself at 1 a.m. I get an Uber. She doesn't check if I've gotten home safe. There's a lot more to say about the story, but basically she does message me the next day at 4 p.m. Didn't check that I got him safe or anything. On a normal night out, that's what I would do to my friends, let alone after a racial abuse. The friendship was terminated, don't you worry. And yeah, that fucked me up for a bit. One, because like obviously the unexpected racially aggressive and your race is inferior to my race out of nowhere. But two, it was just like also just cut deep how someone who I considered a friend after 6 months was just so callously unempathetic. I just can't wrap my head around it. And like just the lack of understanding until you spell it out in the terms that affects them. I was like, okay, if you went to a party with all men and one of them said that you were inferior as a woman and your friend didn't protect you, wouldn't you be skipping Taylor Swift? Don't come for me, Swifties. I can't even say your name. Swifties, please. If you want to hear the rest, which there is more, let me know. Bye.
Hey y'all, hey. So I'm still on Black Scottish TikTok. And I'm wondering now, is this like a sign or a message from the AI guide? Because you know AI, and computers, the artificial intelligence is so intelligent that they created their own little language. They be talking to each other, right? So like the AI bots or whatever. So now I'm wondering, did they see something down the pipeline and say, you know what, we need to let the Black Americans know subtly that they just need to go on, they just need to get out, and then give them a suggestion on where to go, and it's telling us to go to Scotland. But if we do that, the people in Scotland start tripping, talking about they got an immigration problem, it start turning into America. They might not want us there for real.
I was racially verbally abused in Edinburgh in Scotland and I was with two of my children, my 10-year-old son and my 4-month-old son. I'd just taken my son to this new bouncy trampoline place and he'd gone for his birthday with one of his friends. So we were just exiting to go into the car park and somebody came out of the Lidl, which was just there. And we were just walking this way and he was walking this way. So just as he approached us, like when he was practically right in front of us, I wasn't really looking at him because I'm not like staring at people. And he said, top of his voice, top of his lungs, yelling, right? You effing black bastards, right? I was so scared. Like even now, like recounting this, I wasn't going to talk about it because I didn't want to give it any of my energy, but I feel petrified, right? It was so scary because I was with my children. So basically I told my son, I was then in like fight or flight mode. Looking back, I should have probably done things differently, but I basically said to my son, like, run to the car, and I unlocked the car. I then heard him shout, you should go to the Caribbean or something like that. Anyway, so I knew that he was behind us and I told my son to run to the car. I unlocked the car. He got in the car, like my 10-year-old. And then I was going as fast as I possibly could with the buggy to the car. And I was trying to unlock the car seat thing, put it in, buckle it in, and then I had to like open the boot, put the car seat in the boot. All that meanwhile, I was just so scared that this guy was going to like come and do goodness only knows what. Because I thought if he's brave enough to yell at the top of his lungs in the open air in public at literally 10:30 a.m, who knows what this guy's capable of. And I took off and like drove away, locked the car doors. My heart was going at like possibly like the fastest it's ever gone. I was so scared. And I was also so sad. Like honestly, like I'm trying not to like think about it too much, because obviously I can like deal with that, you know, but my son is 10 years old. Obviously my 4-month-old was not really aware of the situation. And he has to go through that in the country that he lives in. I was wondering, how is he going to deal with this? And he basically was just like, well, I've been through that at school, which just honestly, like the whole thing is just like, just so awful. And like, I honestly think this whole situation is just getting so much worse. And so I've had so many DMs of people saying it's getting so much worse. And in my whole lifetime of living in Scotland, up until now, so I've lived other places in the world, I've never experienced something like that. And I obviously know as well that this isn't the worst situation that could ever happen to somebody. This is just the situation that I've had.
It's just something that I was shocked, and I've been here for 12 years, bear in mind. There is racism, of course, in Scotland, but it's more quiet. Let's be so for real.
And see,
It's more like the views, it's more like the looks. You
can't handle quiet racism. It's so much worse. But then it's like, if you react, then you're the aggressor. I respect a loud racist more than I would respect a quiet racist, because versus where here I feel like it's definitely more quiet, and now I have to watch my back. I have to overanalyze what the people are saying all the time. I'm feeling like I'm walking into a space and I'm being judged off of it, because you know, no one's gonna say.
Yeah, I'm actually not gonna sugarcoat it for anything. I do love being Scottish and black. You know, I came here when I was 5 years old from Nigeria. And I've lived here for 21 years. Yeah, I did my primary school here, I did secondary school, right into uni and everything. I experienced microaggression, actually racism from teachers. I experienced racism from classmates. Like, I've experienced, like, I remember one incident when me and my family, we finished from church. We were waiting at the bus stop at that time, before we like obviously like got a car and all that kind of stuff. But they were just kind of like, you know, we're basically kind of fresh, like, you know, when you're still like trying to make your way as an immigrant. So we were really like struggling. It was very, very much struggling times. I remember we were at the bus stop. I think I was like maybe 10 years old, 10 or 11. And I will always remember this, where like 3 guys on their bikes started like shouting like racist chants to us. Obviously I'm not gonna see it on TikTok, and I will always remember that, like growing up, or even like getting made fun of about my hair texture. They would compare it to being pubic hair, the whole lot. So yeah, I definitely experienced. I'm not gonna act like, oh yeah, like over here in Scotland things are chill, like everyone's like so nice to each other, and no, I'm not gonna do that. But however, there is good people are very friendly, and you can always focus on the negative parts. When you come here, you will be safe. People are curious about, even to this day, like people are so curious. And it's so funny, even when I go down to England and I have a Scottish accent, people are like, oh, you from Ireland? Like, they're very confused. So yeah, it's not even an uncommon thing. But just to answer that, yes, there's definitely racism here, but it's not as heavy as other areas. Well, that's from my own personal experience. People have their personal experience as well, so I can't speak for them. But my own personal experience, I can genuinely say that, like, yes, there is racism, but at the same time, people are very, very kind and generous here in Scotland and Glasgow in particular. And there's a lot of interesting people. There's a lot of very interesting, funny people. So yeah, love it.
Yes, of course. Racism happens everywhere, and Scotland is no exception. So I'm going to tell you some things that happened to my family and I. We lived in an area that my parents thought was safe. There was a park right in front. There was loads of families. It was like terraced apartments, so all of the flats were on one street. And with so many people, you're obviously going to get people that are not accepting, and ultimately some racist people.
There was multiple incidents that occurred throughout our time living there, and I was young, so I can't remember them all, but I'm going to mention a few. Our car would constantly be vandalized, so one day we'd wake up and we'd have our mirror broken, or it'd be a window broken, and one time they poured acid on our car, which obviously left a permanent mark. Our belongings were stolen too, so people would take our bikes or scooters. Our bikes would end up in puddles or they'd end up never being seen again. And at one point, our trampoline springs were also taken. And this was a lot of kids doing this as well as adults. We'd be verbally abused, which is a given, and also physically abused. I remember my sister got gum thrown at her and someone else got spat at. And it was a group of teenage boys doing this. It was like I don't know if you call it a gang, but everyone knew them around the area, and they would always target my family and the people living below us because they were also black. There would be times my younger siblings were physically fought, and other times where they just egg our houses. The police were contacted on multiple occasions, but it just got to a point where we had to move house because it was just getting so bad. But this was years ago, so it's better now. Not to say that it doesn't exist anymore, but it's not as bad as it once was.
And see, there it is right there. And see, I knew it wasn't going to be long till y'all got in my comments with this. I knew y'all were going to come and prove the black Scottish folk right. Because everybody be talking about, well, you know, what's the racism like? What are the white folk like over there? Same as in America. Because from what I understand it, y'all look at the black Scottish people as immigrants, even though a lot of them were born there. Because they're second or third or fourth generation, to y'all they're still immigrants because they're African. Essentially, y'all are saying that they don't belong in your country, right? Because like you said, white Scottish is the only type of Scottish. But see, what you've unknowingly done here is prove that y'all don't know the difference between race and nationality. Like, this is literally white supremacy in a kilt. Y'all obviously don't even know the history of Scotland, because Scotland has been a very diverse place for generations. It has been a place where people have migrated to for centuries. Not just Norse, Gaels, and Romans, but yeah, black people, Asians, been a part of Scotland for centuries. Did you know there's documentation of Africans living in Scotland that dates back to the 1500s? Yeah, I bet you ain't know that because it doesn't fit your white supremacist talking points. Scottish is a nationality and a cultural identity, not a race. You can be black Scottish, Asian Scottish, because being Scottish is not tied to a skin color. It's basically just where you're from. It's where you were raised and what community you belong to. What you're really saying when you say white Scottish is the only type of Scottish, which is wildly racist in and of itself, you're saying I only recognize Scottishness when it looks like me. That sounds very American, because this is classic white gatekeeping, and it's a key component of white supremacy, something we know all too well here in America. And apparently y'all do over there in Scotland too. This is why they always say, let them talk. Let them talk. They gonna prove themselves. Just let them talk. Y'all proving all the black Scots right. Racism is global. But we already knew all that.
Also, let's remember that Scotland has a smaller black population compared to places in England, like London, that you all see, that we all see. So the representation is not as big. So yeah, we still have a long way to go compared to other places in England. But we can't sit here and say Scotland has not come a long way. 30, 40 years ago, it was normal to be openly racist, but I feel like the new younger generations, we are more socially aware, and people are willing to speak up for things that are wrong, but like I said, it's still a long way to go. People are willing to use their white privilege as well, definitely. Is racism like in your face here? No, I do not think racism is in your face, and this is based on my experience. But I feel like racism here can be very much covert, as in like you'll have a conversation with someone and you'll be thinking back to that conversation and saying, was that racist? Was that showing signs of microaggression? So it's definitely more subtle here, that you might not see it until, someone actually speaks to you about it. Okay, we have to address the question, is there racism in Scotland? Yes, there is racism in Scotland. And second of all, I do not want any Scottish people to come in the comments and say, no, there's no racism in Scotland, because you cannot say that, because you have not lived or experienced the lives of Black people. And I cannot say there is no racism because my experience is different. Every Black person's experience has been different. So we cannot sit here and say, no, there is no racism, because yes, there is racism. It will always exist and it is around. Like growing up, it was always a question of I want to fit in, but I don't want to lose my identity if I'm first Black before I'm anything else. But with the society that we live in, you end up questioning yourself and questioning exactly where you belong. We don't have any representation of Black Scots. We don't see them. They're not shown on TV. They're not shown in the newspapers, in the workplaces. We don't have any representation. So you can imagine growing up how hard that must have been, feeling like you are literally the only one. So yeah, I think most of us for a long time probably felt like, oh my God, I'm the only Black person who lives in Scotland.
With the rise of racism that's currently happening in the UK, I was just thinking about this one time that I was on a walk in a nature reserve with my best friend, and this group of like white high school boys starts following us and being like, risk reveal, and then one of them keeps making monkey noises at me. Monkey noises. And I was like, I think back to all the different times that something like that's happened to me, and I'm like, what do I say? What do I do? And they followed us for ages. Making monkey noises at me. And I'm like, what do you do in that situation? Give me something I can say back to these little chavs that will like ruin their day. Or like embarrass them in front of all of their friends. Like something. But I feel like they'd be too stupid to understand like anything of value I actually had to say that would be funny. So it's like extremely frustrating because it's like I'm just trying to talk to idiots here. And it hurts. It hurts. By the way, my last video, so obviously that the racist on the woman in the train that was being racist, basically so many people have commented on that saying that I handled it really well, and I never feel that I do handle situations like that well, so thanks. Like, I read some of the comments last night and I was crying at them, like actual crying, because I was just like, that is so nice. Anyway, I'm not going to cry today, but basically, no, I'm holding in tears, because it is a subject, a very touchy subject, that I feel that I've never been able to speak about racism in Scotland, just because I can only speak about my experience. I can't speak on any other person of colour, a Black person at all, and I would never try to, but I have seen some comments of Black people saying like, oh, there's no racism in Scotland, and I'm like, look at my last video. But the first time I experienced racism that I can proper remember, I was 7 years old in a soft play, and I was on the floor of the soft play just playing. I think I lost my cousins, I think they disappeared. And I was by myself, and a group of, 3 or 4 boys circled me, like right round, and they were looking down on me because I was sitting on the floor, and they were saying stuff like, do you eat poo, do you eat shit? Like, that's what they were saying, that was the words that they were saying. Bear in mind, they were young, I was about 7, they were maybe like 9. That's why you that skin colour, and their faces were bright red, laughing, like proper hysterically laughing at each other, being racist to me. And I didn't understand racism because I didn't like see my colour at that point. I grew up also in a white family, so I didn't understand why they were saying this to me, but I knew how it felt, and it felt awful. So every time that I've experienced racism, it takes me back to that, just that vulnerable innocence situation. Anyway, I've unfortunately experienced racism loads of times since, but I won't get into that. I'm not here to do a mad X Factor sob story. It's just I feel it's important to kind of talk about it, because I feel like that last video has kind of gave me a voice. I don't know. Anyway, but the one I had experienced, it was 2019, and that was one of them. It's carried with me, and I think that's why I stood up to that woman so much, because I felt as if I couldn't before. Like, I was at a taxi rank in 2019, like, at the end of a night out, and a grown man chanted the N-word at me and spat on me, and you know where you can hear it before they do it. It was so intentional. I tried to record him, and he hit my phone off my hand, and it went on the floor, and he jumped in a taxi, and he put the window down in the taxi, and he was shouting the N-word, chanting it. And I went to the police. I did and the worst part about it, and that's why I'm so grateful for the people that did stand up for me yesterday, is nobody says anything. They just allow it to happen.
and everyone at the taxi rank, 2 people I was friends with were at the taxi rank, and they were witnesses, and I'm lucky that they obviously went to the police as witnesses. Like, they allowed the police to get their details as witnesses, but I was lucky in a sense that I had people that were going to do that, because no one else did. And even then, at the time, nobody speaks up. No one says, here, that's wrong. And it is wrong. And if you see it, even if you're not a confrontational person, let that person who's been racist or homophobic or whatever, let them know that that's not okay. Like, even just by giving them a look, just be like you don't have to like get involved. Ideally, it would be great if you could. But even that girl yesterday, she got up when the guy left the train and obviously the woman started again. That girl got up from the other side of the carriage and stood with me until I got off the train. She didn't get involved in the sense of saying things to the woman, which she didn't need to, because she just standing there asking me if I'm okay and just standing with me, that meant the world. And if you can do that with someone, you don't need to be a confrontational person. You just stand with or sit with them and just be them. Let them know that, hey, you're not alone in this, because that's how I feel the full time. I've always felt so alone, and I think that's why I'm not triggered, but it does trigger me. I'm gonna lie, it triggers me. It takes me back to every experience I've ever had. So yeah, thanks so much, everyone.
Right, Life is Safari Brother, can you share your experience of racism in Scotland for your black followers in the USA? Yes, but also I pass this on to my fellow black peers. However, I'm not going to sit here and claim that Scotland as a country is a racist country. It is not. I have grew up here since I was the age of 3. I speak Scottish, like I don't speak Gaelic, but the twangs in my accent, right? But I wouldn't say that there isn't like slight forms of racism in it. Like, there's still a few degenerate words such as the PAKI and the NIGR, the hard R. Like, there's a few of them that get flung around here and there, but I wouldn't say they get flung around in like in my adult age. Like, see, when I was a kid though, but obviously like those people that would try to push the button in X, Y, and Z, and also I've been in some run-ins with like some scheme folks, some hoodlums, right, when I was younger, and they were a lot older than me back then, and there was times when I got into fights because of like just being black, and those times where like me and my white friends would run away from like effectively a whole schemes just to run away from a scheme doing because they didn't like the fact that I was black or I was PAKI. It's one of those ones where, but even at that though, but there was points in time when like I was running away because they didn't like him and he's white, so I wouldn't say like it was particularly just solely based on me being black. And that's one thing that I found, like, Scottish people, if they don't like you, they don't like you for you. It's nothing to do with like the fact that you're black or that you're an immigrant. It's like, listen, like, if you're not, aye, and I'm